By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how far the USMNT goes in the 2026 World Cup. Not a range, not a ceiling, but a specific round, backed by three things the mainstream football media is almost entirely ignoring. Before any of that lands, hold one question in your head while you're watching. Do you actually believe this team can go further than Qatar? Keep that answer close, because what comes next is going to push on it. Here is the problem with how most people see this team. They remember one result. December 3rd, 2022, a 3-1 loss to the Netherlands in the round of 16. And that scoreline turned into a ceiling. It became the program's definition: respectable, competitive, and ultimately not a threat. What those people are missing is that the squad walking out at SoFi Stadium on June 12th against Paraguay is not the same group that lost in Qatar. And treating it as though it is represents the central misunderstanding this video exists to dismantle. Start with a number that almost nobody in football media is putting into their coverage. The 2026 USMNT starting lineup is projected to carry more combined appearances in Europe's top 5 leagues than the average World Cup semi-finalist from the last 3 tournaments. The team everyone is writing off is more battle-tested at club level than most sides that have actually reached the Final Four. That framing doesn't fit the narrative ESPN is running, so they leave it out. Begin with Christian Pulisic, because the numbers from his 2024-25 season demand it. 11 goals, 9 assists, 33 league appearances for AC Milan in Serie A, a single-season scoring record at the club level, and a second consecutive Serie A Team of the Season selection. Pulisic turns 27 in September 2026, which places him at the precise age bracket where attacking midfielders produce their best football. And he arrives at this tournament having proven himself as one of the standout attackers in Italian football across back-to-back seasons at San Siro. The promising American talent label ran out a long time ago. What's left is a proven Serie A attacker operating at the top of his career. But Pulisic is not the reason this prediction gets made at the end of this video. The biggest reason most analysts are still wrong about this team has nothing to do with individual talent, and that is exactly what comes next. For 20 years, one question followed every USMNT World Cup camp like a shadow: who starts at centre forward? Folarin Balogun ended that conversation. Born in New York, raised in London, he committed his international future to the United States in May 2023, and since that decision, he has scored 8 goals across 25 international appearances, with those goals arriving in the moments that separate useful players from tournament players. The Nations League final against Canada, twice at Copa America 2024, 3 consecutive starts in the fall 2025 window, scoring against Japan, Ecuador, and Paraguay in sequence. At club level, he has been operating for Monaco in League One and the Champions League, and by the time June 2026 arrives, he enters the World Cup off a run of form that French football media has been tracking closely for months. The 20-year striker problem is solved, and the analysts who haven't updated their read on this team simply haven't processed what that means yet. And yet, a strong squad has never been sufficient on its own. Talented groups exit in the group stage every single tournament, including teams with far more individual quality than anything the United States has ever assembled. Brazil in 2010, France in 2002. So what does this team have that those sides didn't? The answer is structural, and it's hiding in plain sight. One more player worth placing before getting there: Tyler Adams. Back surgery in the summer of 2024 kept him sidelined into the start of the Premier League season, but he worked his way back and made 28 appearances for Bournemouth across the full 2024-25 campaign. When Adams is fit and on the pitch, this team does not get outrun or outworked through the middle. The 28-game return season confirmed the injury is behind him, and heading into 2026, he carries a full year of consistent minutes. That matters more for the defensive foundation of this team than almost any other single factor. Now the structural thing. Since 1990, every host nation has advanced out of the World Cup group stage. Every single one. 9 consecutive tournaments. That is not a feel-good story, not a narrative convenience, but a pattern that has held across every format, every continent, and every generation of the game. Almost nobody covering the USMNT is treating it with the analytical weight it deserves. Home advantage gets discussed on television in the most surface-level way way possible. The crowd will be loud, the fans will be passionate, and both of those things are true. But they miss the structural reality of what hosting this specific tournament means for the United States. Every minute of the group stage takes place on American soil. No international flights, no jet lag, no adapting to foreign food or foreign time zones. Meanwhile, Paraguay travels from South America, Australia from the other side of the planet, and Turkey from across the Atlantic. Every opponent in Group D arrives depleted before a single ball is kicked, managing travel fatigue and the psychological weight of playing in front of 60 or 70,000 people who came specifically to watch them lose. The 1994 World Cup showed exactly what this dynamic produces. On June 22nd of that year, the United States faced Colombia at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena in front of 93,869 fans and won 2-1. Colombia entered that match as one of the most hyped teams in the tournament, having beaten Argentina 5-0 in qualifying, with Pelé himself predicting they could win the whole thing. The United States, at that point ranked nowhere near Colombia's level, sent them home. Home advantage compressed the gap until the result became possible, and then made it real. Now add 32 years of player development and a domestic football culture that simply did not exist in 1994. MLS has grown into one of the most attended domestic leagues in the world by matchday crowd. The passion of 2026 is not the passion of 1994, and this time, the players on the pitch are good enough to use it. Now, if you're skeptical at this point, that skepticism deserves a direct response, because it is not without logic. The USMNT has never reached a modern World Cup semifinal. Club form does not always translate to international tournament football. Talented groups underperform expectations in this competition constantly, including American squads that looked promising right up until they stopped being promising. All of that is true. Here is exactly why 2026 sits in a different category. The expanded 48-team format introduces a round of 32 before the traditional round of 16, which means the United States plays an additional knockout game at home before potentially facing a top-tier opponent. Group D contains Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey, which is not a soft group, but based on current squad form and ranking, it is a group the United States should win. Paraguay sits ranked 39th in the world, Australia 26th, Turkey 25th, with the United States sitting 14th and holding home field advantage over all three. Neither Paraguay nor Australia carries the attacking firepower to overpower a Pochettino-coached defensive setup in front of capacity American crowds across 3 home matches. And based on how the bracket has taken shape, the tournament's heaviest sides sit on the opposite side of the draw from the path the United States is most likely to travel. In a realistic scenario, the Americans could reach the quarterfinals without facing a top-ranked side in the world. Pochettino was appointed in September 2024 and has had the better part of 2 years to build this team's tactical identity ahead of the tournament. That is not a long runway, but for a coach of his experience, it has been enough to establish a system, identify a settled lineup, and give a squad with significant European club experience a recognizable shape entering the World Cup. Think about the 2002 South Korea run. A nation ranked 40th in the world reached the semi-finals, not because they were the most talented team in the tournament, but because 3 things arrived at the same time. The bracket opened up, the crowd lifted them beyond what any projection suggested was possible, and the squad peaked at exactly the right moment. The 2026 USMNT has a stronger squad than that South Korea side, more experienced coaching, and plays every single knockout match on home soil. Those 3 conditions have aligned before. When they do, the results become historic. So where does this run actually end? Round of 32, they advance. Round of 16, they advance. Quarterfinals, and then? This is not the safe prediction. It is the one most analysts will call wrong, confidently, right up until it happens. The USMNT reaches the semi-finals of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. They top Group D, advance through the bracket on home soil, and stand in a World Cup semi-final for the first time since 1930, 96 years later in their own country, in front of their own people. The weight of that moment, what it would mean for American football and every generation that built toward it, without ever quite getting there, is exactly what makes this summer different from every other one. The Qatar narrative is finished. That was a different squad, a different coaching staff, and a different ceiling. Now the question goes to you. Yes or no? Does the USMNT make the semi-finals? Leave it in the comments because this video is coming back in July and the record will show exactly who believed before it happened. Subscribe if you aren't already because the next video covers every player in the 2026 roster. Who starts, who comes off the bench, who gets left home, and who the surprise inclusion is going to be.